Not during your first day.
I'm not sure you're looking at.
Hi, everyone. Oh, good. I'm so glad that so many of you are here. I'm sorry I forgot to maybe send a message because I have access, or I should have access to your Blackboard now. Oh dear. Let's see. It doesn't seem like I can hear you. Shit. Okay. But there's a good number of you already, so that's good. What is this? Let me check on my sound. Yeah, I gotta fix it. Okay, I think I should be able to hear people now. Yeah, I started to hear a little sound.
Hello? Good morning.
Hello. Oh, good.
Morning.
Yeah.
Hi. Okay, great. Yeah, I know you guys could hear me, but I had to set it up to hear you. It's
Oh,
just lost my picture. There we go. That's annoying when that happens. Okay. Okay, cool. So hi everybody. I'm gonna be your sub-professor person for a while. I don't know exactly how long, but a while. Like maybe a month at least or something. Life is all very confusing, but you know, we're gonna just try to make it work. Okay, let me see. I'm just seeing if I have any more announcements and things about class. Okay, I see people have joined the meeting. That's good. Okay. Okay, I just got an email like an hour and a half ago that says that Professor Morford is out for the whole semester starting 2 days ago. So that means that you guys are with me. Whoa. Apparently, Professor Morford is actually at home and resting and recovering. And I do hope he feels better soon. I don't know any details of why he was in the hospital, what he has or doesn't have, but just that he needs to convalesce, which is a nice word for heal and shit. Okay. Yes.
So you're going to be our professor for the whole semester, right?
Yes. I've
Okay.
taken over. I am evil, and I have taken over this class. This is
I'm
actually
happy you
one
did,
step.
because I feel like
Oh,
it's
thanks.
better and easier to get contact with you.
Cool. Well, I feel like, you see, I'm kind of like Plankton from SpongeBob, and I'm working on taking over the world. And my first step is to take other people's classes. From there, I'm going to start to conquer cities, you know? It's just building up. Yeah, my husband doesn't even know the plan yet. But I think he would like it. Hey, John, I'm taking over the world one class at a time. What? He says that if I run things better than they're being run, we're going to be fine. And like, I'm not qualified, but anyone's better than Orange Cheeto Hitler. So, I think we are good then. Okay. Let's see. I actually just want to send her a question. Okay. Okay. Okay, there's probably more I need to ask, but I don't want to do it all right now because we got to have class. Oh, yeah, don't worry about that. Okay. All right, sorry, I'm still sort of figuring stuff out here. Now let's see. If I go to Blackboard, I should have access to everybody. So has anyone ever had this happen before?
First time, never.
Yeah, I would think it'd be people's first time. Let's see. Okay. There we go. I do have access. Okay. So you guys are 0502. All right, neato. Okay. CUNY First should probably give me access as well. So yeah, I have to like give you guys a midterm and stuff. And I honestly am not totally sure how we're gonna do that yet. Maybe your professor can give me a little more info. Or not. I don't even know that yet. But you know that life is weird right now, not simply because of COVID and but also because Dancing with the Stars is messing up. I mean, how safe can the world be? So, Dancing with the Stars, they have eliminations at the end of the episode. And apparently the new host, Tyra Banks, was given, this is important, you have to learn this, was given the wrong information. So it got down to 3 couples. And then her card said the final 2 couples. And then one of the bottom 2 couples was previously called safe, but that was wrong. So they had to get rid of 2 of the couples and bring out 1 couple that was supposedly safe, but they're really not, to get the bottom 2. And then they eliminated somebody. This has never happened on the American Dancing with the Stars, though apparently it's happened in the UK. That's, England and stuff. So people are thinking that Tyra Banks is a shitty host because she's new to hosting. and this happened under her. But I don't think it's actually her fault because she received the wrong cards to read. But anyway, it's a big scandal, and we all need to be very upset about it. Okay. I'm just figuring out how I want to do attendance. Now, if I were really smart, I would have put you guys in my phone before class, but I'm not that smart, unfortunately. Let's see. No. Okay. So I'm going to Faculty Center, and hopefully I've got you guys in there. Oh, I don't. I have you on Blackboard, but I do not have you on CUNY First. That sucks. All right. Now let's see. Well, I have attendance from last time. Oh, here. All right. Wonder if I can add. By next time, I'll get everything in my phone, so it'll be very fast, like the other classes. Just somehow I didn't see this coming, which was dumb. But I've also been a little under the weather. Don't worry, we're gonna learn stuff and have fun, and it's gonna be awesome. I'm trying to insert a column for the attendance thing. It's not, why does it want to do that? Can I add something over here? See, this isn't even exactly an Excel document. Okay, I think it'll let me add over here, which is a little awkward looking, but I don't really have a better option right now. And then I can put all this in my phone, and that will be nicer. Okay. All right, so, Aaliyah, are you here? I guess not. Okay. Let's see, I don't see Aaliyah. Okay. So you can use the chat, but please tell me if you're here. It's easier if I hear you. Okay. Just close that. Okay. Dahiana?
Diana, yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay, so you pronounce it Diana.
Yes.
Oh, that's cool. Okay. You know, that kind of reminds me of, well, welcome to me, because I see that you were not here last week, which is fine, because it's a weird shakeup and everything. So I'm only just saying hi, because we haven't met yet. How do you feel about pineapple on pizza? That's my introductory question.
Honestly, I love it. I order it all the time.
Oh, excellent. I love it too. Some people think they don't belong together, but I'm so into it.
Right.
And yeah, I like Hawaiian pizza, but what my husband and I really like is pineapple, onion, mushroom, and olive.
I like pineapple
Yeah.
and chicken.
Oh, pineapple's always good with chicken. Yeah, excellent. I'm getting hungry now. It is almost lunch. Oh well. Anyway, okay, so welcome. Also, what that makes me think of is my aunt is named Diane, and actually it used to be spelled like Diane, but the French pronunciation is Diane. Is my family French? No. But apparently my grandmother, who I never met, just thought it would be cool to name her Diane. But naturally, spelled D-I-A-N-E, everyone said Diane. So my aunt got her spelling officially changed, and now her name is spelled D-I-O-N-N-E, and it looks like Diane. And I call her Donnie. And my mom was like, you should call her Auntie Donnie. And Donnie and I were both like, no, So, that's my story. Okay. Let's see. Hanina.
I'm here.
Cool. Welcome back. Oscar, you're here. I saw your name.
Yes.
So, welcome back.
Thank you.
Deja? I guess not. Oh, Oscar, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just saying, like, I'm here. Welcome back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay, Jocelyn.
Here.
Cool. Mafirima. Mafirima? Help me with the accents. Apparently they're not here to help me. Okay. David. No, David. Annabella. Lady Sangazur. Bum, bum. Man, she's not around for my joke. I hate that. So I think I mentioned last time I'm obsessed with Gilbert and Sullivan. They wrote the ancestors to musical comedies, mostly in the 1880s, though also a little bit in the 1870s and 90s. Victorian England, they're hilarious. Even if it seems like, oh, that's old, it's actually incredibly funny and often performed today. And one of their earliest pieces is The Sorcerer from 1877, and it has a character named Lady Annabella Sengijur. So when I see Annabella, I just like hear that in my head, but she has not attended class. Also, another early Gilbert and Sullivan is called Trial by Jury, where the lady sues the guy for not marrying her, which was actually legitimate in Victorian England. It was a real thing called breach of contract of marriage. Anyway, and her name is Angelina, and I have a student named Angelina, so I'm always singing that. One time I had a student named Mabel. Mabel is the heroine of Pirates of Penzance. So yeah, if you have a Gilbert and Sullivan name, you're in trouble. I'm gonna sing at you all semester. But most of you don't have that. Okay. So no Lady Annabella, Yanilka.
Yes,
Hello.
I'm here. Hi.
I like your last name. It's almost like my first name.
Thank you.
Though of course my first name is just Professor. So, okay, Hillary. No. Oh, and Yanilka, I see you weren't here last time, so welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome to the strange chaos of my classes. I like to have fun with it. Okay, Iana.
Here.
Hello, welcome. You're new too, sort of, whatever that means right now. Okay, Willie, I think you're here. I think I saw your name. Okay, cool. Amanda. No. Okay, Aziza, I think I saw you.
Here.
Hello.
Hello.
That's a cool name. I had
Thank
a friend
you.
growing up named Aviva, but you know,
Yeah, it's
Aziza's
close
even
enough.
cooler.
Thank you.
Yeah. Are you Russian?
From Uzbekistan, but it's close to Russia. A lot of people think it's Russia, but it's not.
Yeah, we Americans, including me, are just kind of ignorant people, and anything, we just think it's all Russia, when there's also other places. So, cool. I don't really know anything about Russia or Uzbekistan. I think there are some good gymnasts. Yay! Is it cold there?
Uzbekistan is not cold, but Russia is cold. It's their
Oh,
winter
okay.
is crazy cold.
Yeah. Well, around here, January can be bad in New York, but the rest of the time, I think it's pretty good. But I'm
No,
always
that's-
warm.
I don't think that's as bad as Russia. My dad and people went there. They tell me if you tear when it's cold, your tears could like ice up on your face.
Wow, I've never had that. Oh. I went to Canada, but never in winter. So, yeah. Okay, Shania Jones. I want to make Shania Twain jokes, even though the spelling's a little different. You're the one I want. Na, 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 na. I'm not a singer, but you can count off. Okay, no Shania. That sucks. Maria. No. Carlos, you're here because I saw your name. You're my
Yeah.
second Carlos.
Yeah.
I have another one who likes to change his image background and bought Pop-Tarts during our last class. So I hope you're a better behaved Carlos.
Yeah, I am.
Okay, cool, excellent. Though actually he's a good student. He's just had to buy Pop-Tarts, you know. I mean, how can you resist that? I get it. Okay, Amaris. Am I saying that right? I thought I saw your name. If you can't say here, you could write it in the chat. I thought you were here. I don't see her anymore, so I won't count. Will. I must have scared Will away. Okay. Diamond. No. Okay, Giovanni.
Here.
Cool. Welcome. Okay, Jasmine, you're here because I can actually see your face, which is neat.
Hi,
See, that's a
Professor.
great thing to do.
Yeah.
That's a great thing to do on Zoom, to like show me your face on your webcam.
Okay. I'm so glad to have you here.
Oh,
Very
thanks.
nice to have you. Very fun.
Well, I'm happy to have all you guys. Okay, Raquel, I
Here.
want to make. Hello, do you know Raquel Welsh? Maybe not personally.
No.
She was like kind of a like sexy movie star of kind of the 60s and 70s, I would say. So I guess that's not you. But if we combined Raquel Welsh and Carlos Santana, we could get you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, American actress and singer, born in 1940, still alive. Yeah, she was sort of a bombshell at the time, but now it's you. So, oh yeah, she just turned 80 like last month. Okay. Okay. Azim. No. Mindy.
Here.
Hi, Mindy. Welcome to class. I have a friend named Mindy Indy, and she does like comics and design and stuff like that.
I'm actually an
and
artist, so.
Oh, that's perfect. Oh yeah. Yeah. Okay, so welcome. Paige. One summer I was in France and studying, and there was this little kid, and he was just learning French. He was, you know, really little, and his mom would read to him, and he would go tourner la page, like turn the page, and everything was turn the page. That was like his thing. Everything tourner la page. So that's a go. Okay, Arthur. No. Okay, Ryan, I think you're here because I remember seeing your name. Ryan is quiet. Where did my participant list go? Oh, here we go. Expand. I thought Ryan was here. No, I see his name. Ryan, there you are. Let me know you're here. I'm gonna mark you as here because your name is here. Could that be a ploy? Like you just sort of always get your name there and you're not actually attending? Maybe, but I'm still gonna mark you. Okay, Nargiza. And Joel. No. Oh, someone just came in. Rihanna, hello.
Hello.
Welcome. I think you were here last time too. Yes, okay. I hope you've been singing in the Bahamas. That's sort of your thing. Wrong, Rihanna. It's different spelling. You know I'm gonna have to do this. Okay. I think that's everybody. Is there anybody I didn't call? Oh, Diamond, I see you. Yeah, anybody else where you didn't hear your name? Apparently not. Okay, now I'm losing. See, normally what I do is, I can't even find Diamond on here. Oh, there we go. So normally what I do is, okay, Iana, I think I got you. Okay, I think that's everyone. It's sort of a different crowd than last time, interestingly. It looks like more people are here overall. It's hard for me to just count it all right now. So what I normally do is I have this really cool app on my phone, and it's called Teacher's Aid. And what I can do is plug in attendance. I can plug in your names and everything. And then all I have to do is tap on my phone to indicate that you're here. So I'm not sort of scanning a sheet. And it's easy to look at the phone and the screen at the same time. It works really well. So now that I know that I have you guys for the rest of the semester, I can like plug it in and it'll be easier. Okay. Let's see, I see the chat. Oh, Ryan, yes, you messaged in the chat. I got you. Okay, so my favorite is to see you and hear you. My second favorite is to hear you. And my third least favorite is only the chat. Students seem to be most comfortable just using the chat, but I really do like to have our interactions be as human as possible. And I would rather hear your voices unless you have some big technology problem or background noise, or you're in a weird location. You know, sometimes people take class from their jobs and they've got a mask on and things. So, but I'd like to hear you if it's doable, you know. Okay. So we left off finishing up the Baroque and at the Rococo. So my plan is to do some Rococo and Neoclassicism and Romanticism, maybe all three, at least through Neoclassicism. So that kind of gets us up to 1800. Whoa, modern! Because you started at like 1300-ish or 1400s. So, you know, we're getting up there, which is cool. Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna get this open and then we'll actually do stuff and it's gonna be fun and it's not gonna be annoying and it's not gonna be attendance the whole fucking class. Oh, I like to swear. I hope that's okay. Students tend to like it. You know, if you feel like it's too rude, I can actually try to fucking calm down, but that's hard for me. How do you guys feel about swearing?
I don't mind it.
Helpful.
You don't mind? And helpful. Okay, cool. All right, well, speaking of attendance, I think new people are here because I hear that bell. So let's see. If you just came in, say hi. I'm not,
Hi.
going to penalize you. Amaris, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. I just think that it's good not to be too punishy because life is too hard and there's a pandemic. I don't know if you noticed. There's an election. So, like, it's better to be on time. But I'm usually a minute or two late, which is not good. And it's my fucking house, and I'm like a few minutes late because I set up. I have sort of a teaching station near, like, in a different spot than kind of my normal spot. Not that that's an excuse, really. It's not that hard to set up. I just screw up. Okay. So, all right. I just have to open one more presentation. So I teach Art 104 also on Fridays. You can always visit Fridays at 5. Here we go. Okay. And they're about where you guys are. They've done the Rococo, which you have not, but that's pretty small. So they're in a very similar spot, which is good. We all sort of did lots of Baroque last week, which was really fun. I mean, the Baroque is awesome, but we have cool stuff coming up too. Okay. So, as you guys might remember, I'm going to share my slides. Oh, and now that I have access to your Blackboard, I can post the presentations. I can post recordings of class. So I can make life a little bit easier. I might just copy over my other class. Most of that should apply like the same way. And that's less work for me. Yay! Okay. So let's see. All right, so last time we looked at some of this stuff. We looked at a very dynamic David. We talked a little bit about the Protestant Reformation, the Catholic Counter-Reformation, that, Italian art is of the Counter-Reformation. It's the center of Catholicism, the popes in Rome. So people like Bernini and Caravaggio are doing very Catholic work, and it's also work that's really expressive and emotional, kind of on steroids. But it's also deeply important about some of the biggest religious themes. So here we see the effort of David defeating Goliath and saving his people, and he becomes a wise king. So that's, important. It's a big deal. And we've got Caravaggio. We looked at the calling of St. Matthew. I'll post the recording so you can listen if you missed. And it's a great idea to take notes on everything. I honestly think it's best to take notes using an actual notebook, old handwriting. So you can have a notebook at your computer and be looking at the slides and writing stuff down. I have a whole PowerPoint about note-taking, so you'll see that eventually. Because notes will help you with everything, and we have a midterm, so that will help. Okay. So with Caravaggio, we talked about how Jesus is calling on St. Matthew to become a better person and to join him and preach the gospel, which he then does. And so it's this theme of redemption, that even if you're a, sort of this seedy, rough and tumble money person, even if you're a sinner, you can be made good. You can be made over in God's image. So there's a beauty to that, but also sort of a deep religious significance. So I'm saying that Baroque art is often about these very important themes. It can vary, but there's an intensity to it. And in painting, there's also an intensity to light and shadow. We looked at tenebrism, where you have very deep, strong, dark shadows contrasted with very bright light. And so that kind of adds to the drama and the importance of the scene. And we looked at that with Artemisia, I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure we did. Hey, John. Oh, good. My husband says he's doing better. We have a small place, so you know, I just say hi to him. Maybe I shouldn't do that. He just sort of stared at me funny, but okay. So then we also looked at Baroque France, mostly in the form of Versailles. Oh, we have a visitor. Guys, we have a visitor. It's true, this class hasn't met him yet in person. Ow, he's already scratching me. This is Monkey. That is actually his name. Ow, oh, he's hating this. Monkey, come on, you want to meet the group. Ow! That
He
didn't
doesn't
work.
want to meet us.
No, he doesn't. Monkey is a gray tabby cat, and he is trouble. Ow, I feel very scratched. He likes to scratch me when he's not immediately fed at 5 in the morning. He sort of goes like this on me. I told him to be a good boy today, and he didn't seem to care. That was very hurtful to me. Did I show you guys a picture of him yet? Because this is actually important. Well, it's easier for me to show them one on the computer.
Or you have your camera open, your webcam open. You show it.
Yeah, but it's easier this way. It's a better picture this way. Okay, so I'll show you a picture of Monkey. He likes to be called Nunky. That's his favorite nickname. Oh, my husband just got a new picture of him. It's really good. This is how we spend a lot of our time. Okay. Look, here he is. Isn't he cute? He likes to be pet at the top of the head, as well as kind of anywhere on his body. He's pretty, not his legs, but he's pretty open. You can pet he loves the chin. He likes this area. So he looks very sweet in pictures. He's rather small, but he's bad. He's bad news. He runs a gang of gray tabbies, and I think they do some drugs. It's a big concern. Do you guys not like the cat?
We love the cat. It's
We
very
love
cute.
the cat. It's cute.
Oh, good. I just didn't hear you, and I need that validation. Here's another one. Look at this. Look at this. He's receiving what we call a boop on the nose. He's in a bag. That's my husband's hand. So it's very much a Michelangelo moment, you know. Like instead of it being God and Adam or Jesus and Matthew, it's John and Monkey. So it's of the deepest importance.
Why is he in a bag?
I brought the bag home and he just jumped in. They like bags and boxes. They just do that. Yeah. Monkey also likes to be right on the computer, like where I would type. He goes right on the laptop. And he likes to sort of walk across it too. And I'll try to get him to move another way and he'll jump over me just to walk on my computer.
I heard that it helps if you get it like a little laptop for itself.
I've heard that too. I just haven't bothered. Yeah, I should get the kitties a like cardboard laptop or something. Yeah. Thanks, Raquel. It is a cute cat. There are more cats where that comes from. I have 4. There's Monkey, Dragon, Jackie, and Brelpuff. Maybe, I have a cat PowerPoint. Would you like to see it?
Yes.
Sure, let's do it.
Okay, don't worry, we're gonna learn stuff, I promise. But you haven't seen a cat PowerPoint yet, and that is very important. I have Cats 1 and Cats 2. I should probably make Cats 3. Come on, where's my Cats PowerPoint? It's CATS, capital letters. Here we go. Now this is really how you're going to be tested. This is how it goes. Okay. So this is my incredibly perfect cats. Don't worry, we don't have 4 quizzes, but this does determine your grade in the class. Yes, if you don't remember everything about my cats, you will fail. I mean it. And when I say that, I do not mean it. It's just a half of your grade. No, I don't mean that either. Okay, you have to watch out. So this is my oldest. Her name is Jackie O'Mewtwo. So she was actually called Jackie at the shelter. My husband and I try to rescue instead of buy. So Jackie is kind of like Jackie O. You know, Jackie O was married to JFK. So she was Jacqueline Bouvier Kennedy. And then, you know, he was assassinated in November 22nd, 1963. And then later Jackie married Greek shipping magnate. By magnate, I mean like a magnate, like a important guy, not a physical magnet. And his name was Aristotle Onassis. So she became known as Jackie O. And then Mewtwo is the best Pokemon. My husband has a very large collection of Mewtwo's. He loves them more than me. I actually asked my husband, who do you love more, me or Mewtwo? And he will not answer. I also asked my husband who he would save in a fire. The correct grammar would be whom he would save, but okay. Like if a place was burning, would he save me first or Mewtwo first? But then he says that Mewtwo could put out the fire and everybody would be saved. And it's like, that's great, sweetie, but that's not the point of my question. I cannot get him to put me above Mewtwo. I'm gonna even see what happens. John, do you love me more than Mewtwo? I'm not even hearing an answer, but I do see Monkey's cute little head. He's in the cat tower, just being sleepy. Okay, anyway, so that's how Jackie O'Mewtwo has her name. She always looks like she's judging you. She always looks like this. It's always some kind of side-eye situation. This is my apartment. Yes, it is covered in toys. Yes, that is Pusheen the cat. Where I'm teaching you is actually just a little bit this way of the picture. Here's Jackie again. She likes this position. Great art history vocabulary. It's called a loaf. This is Brel Puff. I named him after Jacques Brel, a Belgian singer that I really like, and a puff pastry, because his name was Puff when we adopted him, and then he became Brel Puff, because we wanted to sort of personalize their names. Sometimes I call him Puffer. He is scared of everything, but he's actually gotten less scared over the years. He lets you pet him now. He used to just run away from any touch. So he's calmed down. He's still kind of scared, but a lot calmer. And he loves the younger cats, Monkey and Dragon. They are basically lovers. So yes, my cats are gay lovers. Monkey and Dragon are always like holding each other. And I support that because I have an LGBTQ positive household, you know. Okay, here's Monkey. This is his full name, Monkey Trouble Cat Gang Shivelbush Peterson Kogut. He does some modeling. He's being trouble. He looks sweet. It's a lie. He looks sweet here. That is also a lie. This is the truth. He's not allowed to go up there, and somehow he managed to get up there. He knows he's guilty, and he does these things anyway because he is bad. He likes the sink. And this is Dragon. Dragon and Monkey are brothers. Biologically, we fostered 4 kittens, and so we had 6 cats in the house, and that was too many for me. My husband would love it, but I'm the one who cleans their litter. So almost as fun as teaching. Okay, not. We had 4. We had Monkey, Dragon, Zebra, and Giraffe. But we sent the other 2 to a different forever home and kept Monkey and Dragon. Dragon is a little bit shy. He's very gentle and regal, very noble. Here you can see a few of my husband's Mewtwo's. And here's Dragon by our apartment window. Notice that we've got a rainbow flag. We have a trans flag now too. And it says, "Not my president. We don't acknowledge Trump in my home." And here's Dragon again. Notice he's got that really cool coat. He has a spotted belly and he likes to lounge. And he likes to curl up like this. Okay, so before we get to art again, which is your favorite cat?
I would say Monkey. He looks so cute, even though she's not.
Yeah, Monkey is the cutest. He has a special charisma. He's sort of like, he's sort of a classic narcissist. He will kind of get you involved. He'll make you, he likes to be pet. He'll make you think that he's affectionate and lovely, and then he just walks all over you, like literally. He actually will get on my back, and he bakes. Cats bake where they kind of go like this. So he'll do that on my back. Yeah. So really, he just wants to take advantage of people, and he acts nice to be able to do it. He's a narcissistic sociopath. But he's so cute about it, you know? John, is Monkey a narcissistic sociopath?
Yeah.
My husband says yes. See? But we love it. Okay. Is anybody new? I've still been hearing, I won't do this the whole class, but I heard people come in. I thought, let's see, anybody don't, oh, Paige, hey, welcome. Okay. I think you're the only new. Jocelyn, I see you. Okay, cool. Okay. Okay, so back to like actual art. Okay, so Monkey seems to be at least one person's favorite.
I love Dragon. He's very cute. I love his fur. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, Dragon is beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, he's a good one.
And I like the cat that is like on the wall. What was the name of him? There is a cat that is like crawling.
Like high up where they're not supposed to be. That was also
Yes.
Monkey.
Oh,
Yeah.
that was my favorite.
But Jackie's also really fun. She's the only girl and she's the boss because her walk, she's what we call chonky, which is cat language for chubby.
Oh.
And so she kind of sachets with this big body. It's pretty fun. She will eat all the food, so we have to be a little careful. Okay, so we looked at Italian Baroque, we also looked at French Baroque. This painting, you're supposed to treat it like a person, meaning that if the king was out of town, the painting would be him. And so if you turned your back on the painting, it was the same as being rude to the actual king. So, you know, those portraits in Harry Potter where the eyes follow you? That's kind of this. And he's showing you his stateliness, his elegance, his power. Those red heels evoke nobility. It was sort of a tradition that he created that is still used in, you know, Louis Vuitton and Louboutin shoes. The red heel still sort of conveys richness, being noble, being upper. He's got this beautiful ermine cloak that's like a really nice fur material. And he's showing off his sexy, dainty legs because he was a great dancer in his youth. By now, he's not young, but he's still very impressive. That is not his real hair. That is a big wig. Men did big hair at the time. Here he is a bit younger and in a ballet. So you can tell that he had this very sort of over the top and yet also kind of delicate form. So the performance of the king spared no one in the seductive appeal of a moving, gesturing, vocalizing body, trained and refined through art. So at Versailles, where he ruled from, part of the art is even his appearance, his presence, how both the king and the nobles, if they're well trained, move through space, what they wear, how they dance. I am a courtier grave and serious, as they say in Gondoliers. The art is sort of like this total experience, how you move, how you dress, and your whole surroundings. So your surroundings are things like this, full of painting and sculpture and stately, magnificent architecture. And also water. There would be lots of fountains, for instance. Here we have an aerial view. The king, basically the idea at Versailles was to get as close to the king's bedchamber as possible. And if you were really lucky, you could maybe hand him a hairbrush or a shirt. I am serious. That was like the ultimate thing. The closer you were to him, even doing the most basic task, the better off you were. So people would compete. He even had people wipe for him, like toilet paper. We're not going to elaborate on that. So Louis saw himself as the Sun King, sort of like the living version of Apollo, the sun god. So basically he controls the world, or at least France, and the sun rises and sets with him as god of the sun. You have the famous Hall of Mirrors. And also the famous gardens. So what's interesting about this is that Baroque France especially is kind of illusion above everything. You know, it's not the natural look. You wear your wig, you powder your face, you have your crazy big fancy clothes, you wear lots of lace. And so things are supposed to be made beautiful rather than sort of kept as they are. Things need to be elevated and refined. One thing I love to tell students, you'll hear this a lot, but one thing that I like to talk about is that the word artificial has art in it. Isn't that interesting? So in more ways than one, art is artificial. This basically means it's constructed by humans. Is there alien art? Possibly, but it's not something that we really know about, so it's sort of useless to talk about at this point. Maybe someday we'll make contact with aliens and talk about what the alien Baroque was like. But for now, it's sort of silly to say, you know, sometimes like with a big artwork, people will say, oh, the pyramids must be made by aliens. Like, no, and that just doesn't help us learn anything. So I actually think that alien life could exist and they could make art, but we just don't know enough about this to really talk about. So for now, we're just going to assume that everything is made by humans, and what we're studying is certainly made by humans. So art is artificial. It's constructed by humans for specific reasons, like to show off, to convey a certain sense of themselves or the world. It's not just how things are. You have kind of like level 1 is sort of like stuff, life itself. Level 2 is what we call representation. So that would be like a painting or sculpture of someone or something. So we know, but it's easy to forget that a painting of a person and a person are not actually the same thing. They're really pretty different. It's like a cell phone picture of you and you right now. We look at pictures and we say, that's me, but really, it isn't. So, you know, we're so used to connecting art to us that we forget that it is a separate thing made for certain reasons. And in art history, we want to understand something about who is constructing art, how and why. For what purposes, in what culture, with what values and ideas in mind. So it's not just, oh, they're painting it that way because that's how it is. That's never true. It's always filtered through the human experience and styles of the time and such. So art isn't natural like, you know, the natural world. It's artificial. And Baroque art really revels in that. It enjoys that. So instead of people looking kind of normal, like with COVID, we just do stuff in our PJs, you know, they're all beautifully dressed up. You have to make things lovelier or more artful. And so we can see that they do that in the garden too. What tells us that this is not just how all the plants naturally grow?
How the shape of the grass?
Yeah. In my experience, grass, I know we don't have a huge amount of grass in New York. I live near Inwood Hill Park though, which is awesome. And I am starting kind of this COVID routine of trying to not live only in my house and get real sunlight. And so I like to go to the park, though I have not been today. But I'm trying to go often toward the beginning of the day now. And it's beautiful. And anyway, so what I know about parks is that usually grass just grows in a field, like it's square. It's not going to be these incredibly beautiful shapes. That's clearly the work of a human. So the person is taking nature and making it more beautiful. It's sort of like even nature is governed by the king and whatever the king wants. So he's not just going to let the grass do its thing. He's going to conquer the grass and make it lovely and make it suit the rest of the palace, and have it be in these lovely patterns and create some symmetry. So notice that all of these on both sides are all pretty similar. And we have kind of a row. We have like a central line here, and then things are pretty much symmetrical on each side. And so that is, you know, intended. So nature is made lovely and kind of tamed. Its wildness is tamed by the king. And that's kind of symbolic because the king tames his people. He governs them. They must obey him. So even nature itself is made to obey him. It's sort of like the world is supposedly made in God's image. Well, Versailles, even the fucking grass, is made in the king's image. So that's pretty hardcore. Notice the trees are in perfect rows and they're even in pots. So, you know, they don't come like this. It's made to be this way. Okay. And so in art history, we call this type of thing, maybe this isn't the clearest picture, we call this a balanced composition. Balance basically means that you have roughly the same amount of stuff going on each side. So for balance, you don't have to have complete symmetry, though you can. It just means that it's pretty similar per side, and you have something interesting in the center. Often a person's face. Though here, it's clearly the fountain. And so a balanced composition is often centralized, meaning you focus on the center. So you have a lovely fountain, and then you have the trees and the grass on each side, and they kind of balance it out, but they also help you focus on the beautiful thing in the middle. So each side is sort of pointing and saying, look at the lovely thing in the center. And this kind of balance is very Renaissance. So you guys maybe have seen and studied this to an extent. For instance, remember the Last Supper. You've got 6 disciples on each side of Jesus. It's the same. And so it's balanced. And that tends to evoke a kind of harmony or perfection. And the king definitely wants to give you that. Okay. Are you guys familiar with the word composition?
Yeah.
So I do a whole, good. I do a whole lecture on formal analysis, and I define all these words, and most professors do, but I think that mine gets more and more detailed, like every semester. I like to talk about form a lot because it's kind of like a new language. And I guess some of you art students here have a nice advantage to talk about form, but it tends to be harder for people. So I'm always kind of adding how I want to do that. So tell me, what is composition? Honestly, that's not an easy question, but you did say yes, so.
Well, a composition is like how you arrange
Yeah,
things on a canvas, or like on things on my, yeah, how something
yeah, excellent.
composed, I guess. Yeah,
Something composed?
yeah, how something is like just arranged or composed to a,
Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, sorry.
no, it's,
Um,
I don't, it's
but
hard to explain it because,
it is hard to explain,
yeah, I just don't.
but that was really good. I'll give you a C. No, I say bad things like that all the time. I like to tell students that they get like a 20%, they got above 20% on an exam when they got an A. Because technically they did get higher than a 20%. They got a 95%. It's mean. It's just what you have to deal with me. Okay, so yeah, composition is basically how stuff is organized, arranged, structured, composed. Exactly. One way I like to define it to make it kind of easy is where you put what. So it's easiest to describe it on a canvas, but it is everywhere. So you have composition in a garden, a landscape. You have composition on a sculpture. You have it in a building. You have it in photographs. It is easiest to see and understand in paintings, but it is in any work of art because it's basically, we're connected to this artificiality of art. It's how something is composed. People are putting things in certain spots in order to draw your eye somewhere, give you an impression, create a mood, tell you whatever they want to tell you. So I do encourage you, even if you knew that, to write down a little bit of that, because students tend to find this tricky, and I like to emphasize it, so it's a good thing to write down. Composition is how everything is arranged, where you put what. So a composition can be centralized, meaning that everything's organized around the center, but it doesn't have to be. It can be all kinds of stuff. I have a whole presentation that gives a lot of different examples of composition, and most of those examples are painting because it's easiest to see. I do give some sculptural examples. I don't really bother with architecture. Oh, look, I wrote constructured. That's wrong. Constructed. Okay. So this is elegantly composed. Okay, so basically, Versailles is very hard to live in. I think we talked about the term gilded cage last time. Gilded is like it's gold, it's beautiful. But a cage means, like, are you happy in a cage?
Not really.
No, you wouldn't be like, I get to live in a cage, yeah. Unless maybe it's some kind of sex play and you're being like submissive. So they're like, get in the cage. And I'm like, yes. I've never done that, but you could. A cage is like you're trapped, basically. So it's beautiful, but you're trapped and it's full of pressure. And so basically, to get anything done, like if you wanted to try to get a law passed or make some kind of difference, or be in the king's good graces or maintain your noble status, the only way to accomplish anything is really to live at Versailles, outside of Paris, which for most aristocrats, that's their home and the city they enjoy. And so they have to leave everything and live in this isolation. So even though it's beautiful, there's like nothing around. You know, it's like you have to leave New York and live in a town in New Jersey. And like, yeah, the nature is pretty, but like what happened to New York City, you know? So they're stuck out there and the king can watch you. And if you misbehave, that basically ruins your entire life. everything is kind of in his hands. He makes you or breaks you. People would kill themselves over getting etiquette wrong because they knew that they had no hope left. There's a legend that the king's cook, Francois Vatel, killed himself because the meat for a festivity came too late. But there is a movie about this, and we do think it was really more over a lady. But it's still kind of a great story because that's sort of the attitude of Versailles. If you don't get all these artificial rules right, you're just completely screwed. So it's beautiful, but it's a pressure cooker, and you're isolated there. And Louis did this because he loves power, and he was kind of paranoid. Ooh, paranoia and power sounds like Trump. And so Louis was worried, you know, that the aristocrats would try to overthrow him, because they actually did try to overthrow his mother when she was regent. When he was little, she was ruling in his place before he was old enough to take on the throne. And having the mother be regent until the boy is old enough is actually quite common. So it's not really like radical. So when that was happening, the aristocrats tried to take over, and they stormed his bedroom, and he was a little kid, and it was very scary and upsetting for him. So he wants to really have a grip on power and not allow any uprisings. And so in Versailles, people don't have their usual access to whatever they might use to rebel, or they can't hide in their house, you know, and so everything is under his control. But after his death, and he ruled for like 70 odd years. After his death, though, oh, another great story about him is that he was known for being really healthy, but he developed an anal fistula. And that basically means, like, I don't know how to describe this stuff well, but it's like an extra canal opens in that area, and it's like not good. And so he had to have an operation for it. And, you know, the surgeon improved his operation and tools just for the king. And so then once the king got that operation and it helped him, other people would get it just electively with no problem, because it was like the special thing the king did. So people are even copying the king's butt operation. This is true.
Didn't it also become like fashionable for them to wear bandages around their butts, like as in a nod to the procedure?
Probably, but the thing is that you'd never see it because they have to wear a million things over that. You know, this kind of clothing is sort of thing upon thing upon thing. So maybe I hadn't heard that. That's possible, but you're going to see all of their lace and dresses and all that fancy shit first. Yeah, this was a really weird time. He had many mistresses, and one of them composed a love potion so that he would stay with her. And the love potion included like Spanish fly and various herbs. It's weird. I think it had blood in it too. Okay, so, you know, that's fun. Anyway, he died, and the next king doesn't have that kind of power. You know, you need some kind of special ego to get everyone to stay there. And so everybody's like, okay, we're just going to move back home now. And so everybody gets to go back to Paris and not be under the king's thumb all the time. And so they're really, really happy. They get to play and feel free. And so they create lots of art. And their attitude is basically, girls and guys just want to have fun. Oh, girls just want to. That's what basically happens. The aristocrats go back to the city and they have lots of fun together. And so we get this art movement called the Rococo, and it's kind of early mid 18th century. So 18th century, you know, 1700s. So here we've got Versailles on the right. Rococo is sort of like a smaller version of that. This is an hotel, which is like a townhouse. Most of these don't survive anymore, but this one does. And so notice we've got beautiful paintings. We've got what's called boiserie, which is like gold, like gilded wood. We've got mirrors, we've got chandeliers. So there's a big interior design element to this movement, but there's also a lot of painting. So in places like this salon, a salon is just a room. It does not relate to hair. People would get together and they would read and they would try to be witty and sort of gossipy. And you would honestly be judged based on if you say something smart enough. And if you don't, you could be, you know, kicked out of society or laughed at forever. So there is still sort of a pressure to perform. And a lot of women would run these salons and do a lot of letter writing. The famous novel Dangerous Liaisons, the basis for Cruel Intentions, is kind of around this sort of society. And the novel is basically all letters, because that's what people were doing, writing these sort of secret love letters to each other. So Rococo art is roughly 1715 through 1780. I recommend writing some of this down. So they're basically sick of Baroque art being so fucking serious, you know. It's either about like the absolute power of the king, or it's about the absolute truth of the Catholic Church, at least, you know, in the Catholic parts of Europe, in the South. So they're tired of that seriousness. And so they just want to play and have fun. And so the subject matter is lighter. It's not religious. It's basically just rich people having a good time like they were. And also it's lighter in the sense of color. They use a lot of pastel, light, bright colors. Rococo art is known for a lot of curves. It's sinuous. That's sort of a fun word. So we say sinuous for lots of curves. So there's kind of like a sexiness to it, you know, sort of ornamental, like a lot of decorations that are sort of curvy and pretty. And it has a playful quality, as we'll see. So we tend to associate it with France, but it did exist throughout Europe. There is like Italian and German Rococo, for instance. So this is basically the ultimate, most famous Rococo painting ever by a fellow named Fragonard. That's his last name. I need to change this slide because this isn't really a great version of the painting. So I'm just going to find you another one right now. Okay. Okay, this looks like a better picture than the one I have. So yeah, I just get pictures from the interwebs. Doesn't have to be fancy. Yeah, that looks pretty good. I like to use my French. So its other name is Les Hasards Heureux de l'Escarpolette. So that's like the happy chances, like the chance or fortune, the happy fortune of the swing. All right. So what's interesting, I guess that's better. So I think you guys are used to this, but the way that we kind of list slides of artworks is we do a text box and you write the name of the artist first, Jean-Honoré Fragonard. Then you put the title, which should be in italics, but that can be harder to read. In papers, artworks should be named in italics, but I don't really bother with that in slides. And then we put the date, and then you can also put the medium. Oil on canvas is typical, that's oil painting. and that becomes the dominant medium in the West. It really is pioneered in the Northern Renaissance, which I know you guys didn't study as much. The Italian Renaissance develops perspective first. The Northern Renaissance, meaning like Germany and Holland, develops oil painting first. And then eventually everybody learns from everybody and they all catch up. So you'll see more inaccurate linear perspective later if you're looking at paintings from Germany and Holland. It took them longer to learn that. It was sort of an Italian import. And then a lot of, fresco painting or Italian paintings are on tempera paint because they didn't have oil paint first. And tempera paint dries faster. That means that you don't have as much time to build up gorgeous colors and detail. But basically everybody learns all of it eventually. Okay, I do enjoy teaching some Northern Renaissance. Maybe we could go back to it, honestly. You know what I would love? You know what I'm gonna do, guys? Okay, one thing I wanna do is I wanna give you an extra credit assignment where if you send me a pretty good summary of your notes up till I started teaching the class, like what sorts of things, like basically write down or even give me copies of your notes from all the classes I missed, up to last week. If you give me that, I will give you some extra credit points for a test or quiz or whatever. And more than one of you can do it. Anyone who does it will get a few points. So basically, it's like, let's say, first or second day of class, you can write, we studied Giotto, here's what we said about the Arena Chapel, etc. So I kind of want like your notes from the classes that I missed. If they're written down, please type them up for me. I'll put a space on Blackboard for you to give them to me. Although actually maybe you could just email them to me. Most assignments I want on Blackboard, it's easier for me, but for this extra credit, maybe you could just email it to me. Would anyone be open to do that?
Yes, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what are we gonna
Cool.
have the midterm? You're not sure yet, right?
Oh, we need to figure that out. Yes.
Okay.
This is kind of
And are we
all
gonna
a
make
little
a
bit.
review for it? Like, are we gonna review something for the midterm?
Yeah. Well, when I give exams, I actually make them open note. So you'll actually kind of have everything anyway. I guess we can do review, especially since I have to figure out what you studied that I didn't. I guess to be safe, I would give the midterm, I like to assign them between classes. So after next week's class would be the earliest. I would basically make it available on Blackboard after our class next week, and then I would have it be due in a few days.
Professor,
But I do want to,
question.
yes.
Are you gonna provide us your syllabus? It's just
Yes.
that, okay, because we had professor provide us a syllabus, but it was not updated.
Can you send me one? Oh my God, please send me one. No one has sent me anything from him.
Oh, sure. It's also in Blackboard.
Oh, it's
in
there.
Blackboard.
God, I'm such a dummy. I can just go read it.
Yeah, but he said that he was gonna update it because in his syllabus it says that we're gonna have a visit to the museum, and it's from previous
Really?
years. It wasn't updated, so he said that he was gonna do it, but we never received the updated one.
Wait, so was he saying that he was going to have you visit a museum this semester?
No, it's because the syllabus is very old. It's not updated to
Okay.
this semester.
The syllabus
I'd
was
still-
from first semester.
Okay, I'd still like to take a look at it, which I clearly can. But yeah, do send me your notes and I'll give you some points for the effort, and that will help everybody. And actually, the more people who do this, the better, because it will help me to see what different people wrote down, what things are in common, what might be a little different. That'll give me like a fuller picture than just one person. So, you know, I would encourage as many of you who would like extra points to do it. It might be easier if I just make it available on Blackboard to do that. I will put up an announcement. I teach another class right after this, but like tonight or tomorrow I can set that up. And I'll look at his thing and we'll figure it out. So yeah, I'll probably give some kind of midterm after class next week. Okay. Let's see. So this is the ultimate Rococo painting, and it's called The Swing. Basically, a man wanted this artwork made, and the artwork is of his lover. And it's his lover cheating on him. Or not on him, it's his lover cheating with him on her husband. So we can see this as, if we observe, this is her husband. He's what we call a cuckold. That means he's cheated on and doesn't know it. That's a fun word, and it's not actually a swear word, even if it seems a little rude. So he's the cuckold. Oh, so bad. In some accounts, he's actually a bishop. So they're kind of making fun of religion, like he's just he's the bishop, but he's easily tricked. And there's a big history of making fun of religious people in French art, even if we haven't seen it. There's plenty of that. There was this writer named Rabelais who always has like actual like religious people having, you know, random sex that they shouldn't be having. So when something is really bawdy, like overly sexual, you can call it Rabelaisian based on that author. Anyway, I will not quiz you on that. So this is the beautiful lady in the middle, and this is the guy that she is having an affair with. And what do you notice about his look? What is he able to look at? I'll give you a hint.
He can look up her skirt.
Yeah, he's able to look up her skirt. Ooh, you know. And is she happy about it?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, look, she's smiling, and she's clearly sort of giving him a view, you know, like she's making this possible. So they're in cahoots, we might say. And we can tell, notice there's like sort of a knocked down gate over here. So we can assume that he kind of crashed his way into a little garden so that he could meet her in a secret way without the husband knowing. And so they are flirting under his nose, and she's giving him a little peek at the goods, shall we say. So scandalous. Oh! So remember, you know, art before, we looked at so much art that's about, you know, redemption and Christ and the Last Supper, and now it's like, I'm cheating. So we get very different subject matter. It's lighter, it's more playful, it's not giving you an example of how to behave, it's sort of intentionally a bit naughty. Rococo is naughty, like Monkey. You know, Monkey goes where he's not allowed to go, but he's kind of cute about it. That's what this art is like. Monkey is the Rococo. And notice that she's flinging her shoe. So she's on a swing, and in her excitement, she's flinging off her shoe. And we can read that kind of sexually, like it might be the first step in getting naked with him later. It indicates a kind of sexual and bodily and otherwise kind of freedom. And, you know, the foot, you know people with foot fetishes, maybe some of you have one. But you know the concept of the foot fetish. So often when you have the bare foot, that in itself is what we call erotic or very sexual. And she has this lovely, dainty little foot. You know, people would pay for a foot like this on one of those webcam services, you know. But they didn't have those back then. And notice that we have a statue here. I mean, it's a painting, but it's made to look like a statue. And who is this?
Cupid?
Cupid, exactly. It's the little god of love, Cupid, who shoots arrows. He is the son of Venus, the goddess of love. And can you tell what Cupid is doing? I have a close-up.
Is he like thinking about what they're doing, or like?
Somewhat. Here, I think this helps.
Oh, he's like,
Shush.
yeah.
Yeah. He's like, don't tell, because Cupid loves love. So he doesn't care that it's cheating. He wants to keep their secret because he enjoys the love. So Cupid is colluding. Instead of being like, you know, righteous and saying, you need to get back with your boring old husband, he's like encouraging the secret lovers. And he's like, shh. So by the standards of the day, and even now in a way, the entire painting is immoral. The whole thing is glorifying infidelity. You know, sex out of marriage. There's nothing here about her being an amazing mother. There's nothing about God redeeming people. You know, it doesn't have this fancy subject matter that people tend to associate with art. It's not uplifting. It's not expressing virtue. For instance, let's say that a politician had this in his office. Would that be a good PR move, do you think?
No.
No.
No, not at all. This would be a problem. Did anyone watch Scandal?
My mother did.
Okay. I watched Scandal with Olivia Pope, and so her attitude is that she's gonna give you a saintly, popely image. She's gonna fix you. Maybe not fix who you are, but you know, fix your image at least. And so you know, if she has to rehabilitate a politician's image, she doesn't want this on his walls because he's advertising that being unfaithful is cool. And, you know, a lot of, you know, those Christian voters who want people to do traditional marriage, you know, would not be okay with that. So this kind of artwork was seen as immoral, even kind of reckless, because the aristocrats at this time, they have a shitload of money and they can just play around. They don't have to really care about morality. They don't even have to care about other people. That's also the thing about Rococo art. So this is art of what we call, you don't have to memorize this term, but I'll just give it to you, the Ancien Régime. So ancien means former, when it's in front of the noun. It means old when it's behind the noun. Sometimes in French, the meaning changes based on the word order. Anyway, so it's the old regime, the former one. And so it basically means aristocrats before they were killed during the... When were French aristocrats killed a lot? With the guillotine.
Wasn't it the French Revolution?
Exactly, the French Revolution, which was 1789. We'll see more about that in art. So, but this is before that, so they don't know that they're going to be killed. But basically, they are playing around and enjoying their money while the poor get poorer. So a lot of people resented them. Think of Marie Antoinette and the idea, why eat bread? Let them eat cake. That actually is not something she really said. We have found that that is a false quote. But the point is that people believe she said that, and it expresses how these aristocrats were seen as incredibly clueless and not caring. So while some people were wearing rags and having trouble having even stale bread to eat, other people were having feasts and playing around. This is the 1% of the time, maybe even richer. So, you know, that was seen as pretty rude and terrible. They're not using their money to help all the poor people. And so, you know, anger at these people, at the aristocracy, at the monarchy, anybody sort of rich hoarding their money and not being fair, that anger builds until you have the revolution. So this artwork has sort of like a charm that you might say belies, like it covers up, or it's hard to see the tension that's going to come afterwards. But it's like there's mounting tension among the rich versus poor in France. So while the rich are doing this, the poor are getting ready to chop their heads off. So this is really art of its pre-revolutionary moment. I like this art because I think it's just sort of hilarious and silly and funny, and I kind of like its brazenness. It's like, no, we're not going to do Jesus. We're going to do like sex and looking up the skirt, you know? I like kind of the way it goes against a lot of rules of what's considered appropriate. And so I find that my students tend to like it as well, actually. But most people hate it. I met a political activist and told her, oh, I teach art history. The first thing she said to me was, I hate the Rococo. Because, you know, the Rococo is not, you know, politically active. It's not helping anything. And there is a lot of very political arts out there, and really more and more of that as society becomes more modern. So, you know, this is often looked at as irresponsible. And it's important to know that to understand what comes next. Okay.
In a way, can't you say that it is politically active though, because it goes against the political norms, which the political norms at the time was a theocracy. So even though it may not be what we want it to be, it technically was politically active.
I wouldn't quite go, I see what you're saying, but I wouldn't quite go that far. Because when you study politically active art, that tends to be a kind of protest art that is sort of objecting to things as they are and encouraging kind of a deeper consciousness of unfairness and telling you to sort of fight the power or go against that unfairness. And they are just sort of reveling in the unfairness and not paying any attention to how other people are doing or other political realities. It's just the very, very rich people playing. So it's kind of like, imagine, you know, now they're not talking about COVID, they're just playing together without masks as if everything were fine. That's more how I would see it.
Okay.
But it's certainly, I think what you're saying also is that it is politically related. It is how those people with that privilege behave. So it does have a, you know, historical and political connections because art tends to. But it's not political in a way that art becomes later. Like a lot of American art of the early 20th century, and including up till the present day, is about kind of making you aware of injustice and helping you fight against injustice. Like think of artworks around Breonna Taylor and things like that. There's a big tradition of that in American art. And so by those standards, like these are people playing while, you know, other people die. So they just like don't give a shit basically because they don't have to. And so that is seen as pretty bad morally because it kind of is. You know, they're just playing around in their closed off little world. So maybe it's not so funny if you're poor in 1750, but it's sort of funny now.
Where do the artists fall in this like social hierarchy?
Oh, that's a great question. It depends somewhat on the artist, but a lot of artists like Fragonard, who's famous, they really, and this would make sense when we look at it, they kind of turn themselves into aristocrats. They become friends with all the royals and nobles and paint them and even travel around to paint them. So they take pride in kind of adopting the status for themselves too. And even in the Baroque period, there was a lot of that you would get famous artists painting for your royal court. And then they would show off, look at my awesome outfits, look how close I am to the king and queen. So the artists are sort of proud to be a part of this. The idea of like the artist for the people, it's actually going to come kind of soon, in a way, but it's not here. So yeah, artists are often, if you're famous, you could be high status. So the idea of the bohemian poor artist That's really more of like a 20th century thing. Like Picasso, before he was famous, just had sort of like a crappy life living above a laundromat in Paris. And he moved to Paris to have his big break in art. You know, he's from Barcelona. So it's kind of like, you know, you move from maybe Chicago to New York City to break into the business. That's sort of what he did. So the sort of glamorized poor artist, that's not really a thing yet. So a lot of these artists were pretty rich too. I don't know what the status of all artists was. Some could have been like suffering at home, you know. Okay, it's not letting me.
But like for the most part, these are like commissioned pieces, right? Or
Yes, this was definitely commissioned. And in fact, so commissioned, for anyone who doesn't know, it means that someone basically hires the artist and says, you make this for me and I'll pay you. So the person who is doing the commissioning is the patron or the donor. They're paying, and then the artist is, you know, fulfilling the commission. So, and of course we still do that today. So the guy who wanted this work actually went to a different artist before Fragonard, and the artist wouldn't make it because he felt it was too immoral. So some artists, you know, not every artist was sort of into this, and he was like, no, it's too immoral, I'm not going to paint cheating. And Fragonard said, okay, and he did it. So, you know, it depends. But yeah, this was definitely commissioned because by the guy who would have been this one. Okay. Now, I just found a cool article I actually haven't read. So, because I just hadn't really encountered it. So, let's see. I see something in the chat. Oh, nah. Cool. So I want to see what they say over here about the swing. Okay. So they have the word frivolity, which is like frivolous. What does that mean if something is frivolous?
Like shady or like
Not necessarily. It's like frivolous is like not significant or important. Like trivial matters. So if you're just like laughing and being silly when you should be doing homework, that's frivolous. Not having any serious purpose or value. Found a definition there. Okay. So this artwork is unmatched in its frivolity. Like it's not about something meaningful, it's just hee hee. At the center of the work, a young woman clothed in a billowing, ruffled ballet pink dress floats in a dramatically lit clearing, rocking above the ground on a crimson cushioned swing. She flings her kitten-heeled shoe towards a mischievous Cupid sculpture. So that's all pretty good formal analysis. Did you guys ever practice formal analysis? It means that you describe what artworks look like in present tense. So you basically just sort of say what's there. As if someone cannot see the artwork, you're describing it for them. So like in this reading, they're describing a young woman is rocking above the ground in a swing. She flings her heels. It's describing stuff, describing the visual form of something. I guess you have not done that, I'm guessing.
Not really. Not that I know.
Okay, not every professor does it as much. I like to do it. Did you talk about like qualities of form, like different kinds of line and color, shape, texture, stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I don't think so. I don't know.
Okay, I'm getting different ideas.
We were like, I think we were getting somewhere, and then like I think last class I had with him, we were talking about some textures, but we didn't got deep into like how it's actually like the shapes and all textures, and we didn't got deep into it.
Okay, I have a whole long, detailed, formal analysis presentation. It's like a lecture unto itself. Um, and I might just work that in and give that to you guys. I don't know, next week, the week after, I don't know yet. But I think it would be good. And you'll probably see some familiar things and some more different things. And it's sort of like a guide to writing about art. It's something you can use when you write papers, but it's also something where you learn some of the words, some of the terms, some of the stuff we look for. I find that I'm always making it larger. I'm always finding like a new formal quality to talk about. Because with art, you sort of begin and end at what it looks like. That's sort of what it is. It is an appearance. And so it's really useful to learn how to talk about appearances. It's not easy. It's sort of a new language. Like I'm learning Dutch on Duolingo, and you guys are learning art language. Yeah. Okay, so they call the composition decadent. Decadent is like really bad but delicious. So a very rich chocolate cake would be decadent. It's not particularly relatable to us, to 21st century viewers. It does not offer serious truths about human nature. You know, so it's not telling us like about the depth of the world and how the world is made and stuff like that. So we can see other Fragonard artworks. Here's a different swing. This is a very famous one at the Frick in New York. The meeting. So we have lovers meeting. Again, it's like secretive. Yeah, so this baron commissioned the swing because he wanted to look up his mistress's skirt. And the history painter who would paint important things like big moments in history, winning famous battles, he refused to do it. Okay. So this basically made Fragonard's reputation. Interesting. I have not read this. Okay, so these scholars argue that the swing is basically her having sex on top of him, which is cool because women are often on the bottom. So we can see his arm is a little bit like, let's say, a penis. So you get the sense of he is going to penetrate into there. So it's very naughty. And swings were kind of associated with like sexual stuff too. We've got the Cupid statue. Apparently Manolo Blahnik likes it. Not a surprise. Okay. So it's naughty, it's sexy, it's scandalous. Uh-oh. And we actually have a female painter at the time. You know, it's hard for women to be artists because they're not really given opportunities. But there are some, like Vigée Lebrun, who's basically famous for painting fancy portraits of rich people. And she's not killed in the French Revolution. She just goes to England for a while and then comes back. So that's actually her self-portrait. That's Marie Antoinette. So we have this Rococo sumptuousness. And here we have this really cool thing. It's a writing table. So there's a video that shows you all the different ways that this table can open, and so you can hide your love letters. Hee hee hee. So even though the Rococo is known as sort of decadent or like frivolous, not serious, it sort of gives women a lot of opportunity. Women would run the salon, they would write letters, they were famous for their witty sayings, and they could have private space to write their private letters, like at a table like this. So in a way, it's sort of progressive for women, even as it's not what one might consider the most serious or best art. So that's kind of its hidden value. I love to assign a podcast on the Rococo. Do you guys listen to podcasts?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, there's a great podcast called The Lonely Palette, kind of like The Lonely Planet. And an art historian, she talks about like a different painting in different episodes and connects the painting to its history and plays background music. And it's very nice to listen to. It's like 20 minutes long. It's very accessible, but it's also really good information. And so I like to assign these episodes along with worksheets to help you follow along and like questions to think about, the work. And so there's an episode on a different work by Fragonard called The Desired Moment. And it's very, it's basically having sex and very fleshy. And she does a great job talking about these pieces. So here, for instance, we can see some of the big differences between the Baroque and the Rococo. So which artwork is Baroque? Which is Rococo? How can you tell?
The left Baroque.
Yes.
One. Wait, what? Sorry.
Yes, Paige said the left is Baroque. Exactly.
Yeah. Because
so what lets us know? Yeah.
Because of the light and shadow, like the darks are very dark, and then the light is very bright.
Yeah. It's that tenebrism or exaggerated chiaroscuro. That's so Baroque, especially Italian, especially Caravaggio, and this is by Caravaggio. So, yeah.
Does the subject also make it Baroque? Or no?
Yeah, the subject definitely relates. We're in, Catholic Rome. And so it makes sense that, it's that deeply religious subject matter that you often have in the Italian Baroque. I mean, strictly speaking, the subject matter doesn't make it Baroque. You could have this subject matter at a different time in a different movement, but the subject matter is really consistent with Italian Baroque and what they want to do. So essentially, yes, I'm just being a little picky about language because it's kind of part of what I do, but yes. And what is the subject matter? Do you know who that guy is? It's a little tricky.
Yeah, we talked about it. He was like...
Oh, good.
Somebody that was getting... I think his name was John or something. I don't know.
Not John, actually. You're kind of on the right track, but it's not John.
He got crucified, but he didn't want to be crucified like Jesus did. And
yeah,
he's like, they're putting him upside down because he felt like unworthy of being
exactly
crucified the same way.
He feels unworthy. He actually did deny Christ and feels guilty about that. That's a whole biblical thing. And so he feels very guilty and doesn't feel he deserves to die in the same way. I'll give you a hint. Gates of Heaven. Keys to Heaven.
Is it Christopher?
Peter?
Peter, yes.
Peter, okay.
Yeah. Peter's kind of considered the ancestor of all the popes, and he gets the keys to heaven. And Peter is always shown older in art. So, with the gray beard, you kind of know it's him. So we have that very serious subject matter, you know, Peter's guilt, his unworthiness, but also his sacrifice, because he's a saint and he's, you know, important and meaningful, and he's atoning. So it's like deep, it's important. It sort of speaks of like good values. One ought to be humble, like Saint Peter. You know, there's sort of goodness in it, and the, you know, importance of the Bible. It's all kind of like it's considered serious or worthy material. Okay, what else makes it Baroque?
Also like the movement, like the guys, like you can see like the movement in the guy pulling the string, and then
Yeah,
the guy trying to lift up the cross on the ground, and the other guy trying to lift it up, helping the guy on the floor.
yeah, you have,
The-
sorry, I keep,
no, it's okay. Sorry, my mic is like kind of choppy, but yeah, I feel
okay.
like there's a narrative in the story, and it looks like a frame from like a video.
Yeah, like, you know, maybe they took a picture or it's a freeze frame, and you can imagine this sort of twisting movement up, you know, following the way this guy's pulling, like you said. Yeah. Or this guy's also kind of lifting it.
Huh?
This guy's helping to lift it. So it's not actual movement because it's just, you know, it's still painting, but Baroque art, you know, uses techniques to really give you a sense that movement is happening. And part of that is that it has these dramatic, kind of exaggerated angles. Rather than straight lines, it likes, what kind of line is it?
Oh, like diagonals?
Yeah, Baroque art loves diagonal lines because they give that sense of action and movement, because your eye has to move a lot. So we're kind of moving like from here to here. We're sort of, our eyes moving up with the rope or down with the rope. Yeah, so it's sort of in the deepest moment of the drama, like right in the middle. You know, like David was about to shoot Goliath. You're like in an incredibly intense, action-filled moment. And then Caravaggio always gives things these really sort of gritty, down-to-earth details. Like this is, you know, some kind of servant. He's got dirty feet. You know, most artists would never bother to do that, you know. And Peter may have spilled his coins in being, you know, put on the cross. So they really make it very lifelike. So tell me, how do we know this thing is Rococo? Not Oscar. Sorry. You're doing great, but I like participation, and I like to get people involved, and it's easy for people to just rely on one person. And so I don't let you.
Is it because of the nudity and kind of like the romanticization of the painting?
Yeah, so it's sort of fleshy and naked, you can actually have tasteful nudity, like in Renaissance art, but this is more lots of skin. So when you say like romantic, give me some like details, like some visual proof that it's kind of romanticized.
Well, I'm seeing like an angel in the background.
Yeah. Like a reality show, it is unreal. But it's not like trying to be real. It's sort of like, you know, you have cupids and things like that. It's like fanciful. Speaking of cupids, this is Cupid. Notice that he's got his like little quiver of arrows here. And this is his mommy Venus. And she's like, Cupid, don't throw your arrows at everybody. Let's calm it down. And he's like, no, Mom. Yeah. So that would be considered maybe more superficial. This is, I sacrificed for Christ. This is, don't touch that. Like it's like not the same level, kind of. What else makes it Rococo?
The lightness of the colors and the pastel
Yeah.
colors.
Yeah, very pastel, lots of pink, very light. Rococo art likes to take place in the woods. We saw that in Fragonard's The Swing as well. And there's a term for this. It's called pastoral. So that's like a pleasant scene in the woods, beautiful green trees, things like that. So there's sort of a tradition of like the idealized woods where you maybe have like a sweet shepherd boy and shepherdess, and it's sort of lovely and even sort of like a little paradise. So the pastoral is considered kind of poetic and beautiful, but also things are wild outside of the city. You can be weirder in the countryside. In the city, you have to follow the rules more, maybe. So Rococo loves its like woodsiness. It's like a sort of light green shrubbery.
Mhm.
Everything is pastoral. Actually, Beethoven wrote what's called the Pastoral Symphony, even though he's a romantic composer, which is a bit later. But it has that lovely, tranquil, sweet, pleasant sound. Sorry, I'm gonna sing. It's like da 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 da. That's actually how it goes. Da 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 da. So that's kind of the Rococo feel, pastoral. The countryside, where you don't have to worry about COVID as much, and you can just like be among the trees. It's that kind of dolce far niente, one would say in Italian, which is sort of like a sweet break. Not having to care as much. Dolce is like sweet and niente is nothing. So it's sort of like this sweet, lazy nothingness. Dolce far niente. That's not an art historical term. You don't have to use it. But there it is. Okay. So yeah, the subject matter is lighter. It's not religious. Do you remember the word for when something's not religious? It starts with an S.
I know it. Secular?
Secular.
Great, secular. So Rococo subject matter is secular, which is really quite modern of it. Because we'll see with neoclassicism that hates Rococo art and comes after, it is also secular. There's more skepticism around religion, and if that provides deep meaning. Now, there's still plenty of religious art at this time, but there's more and more secular work. So Rococo art is pretty much never religious, especially because they're not being moral anyway. So yeah, it's fanciful with all the weird little babies. But you can have Greek mythology and have it not be fanciful. You can have a meaningful Baroque scene with, Greek gods and goddesses. But this is, a more just lighthearted scene. But notice we still have that Baroque diagonal, actually. Interesting. Not as much of a sense of movement, but we still have that kind of line. Rococo art likes to curve. So notice we have like the curvy lady. Her body kind of emphasizes her curves, the odd way that she's positioned. And then we have, everything is sort of soft. So you don't have like a sharp form. Like this diagonal is really harsh, like cuts through the canvas. You don't have anything quite that cutting in Rococo. So you can have a diagonal, but it's like gentler. Everything is sort of sweeter, a little bit played down, a little fuzzy. The expression watered down is like you put water in something to dilute or kind of lighten the flavor. That's sort of Rococo. You put water in it and it's lighter. And so, okay. So tell me, do you like this Rococo art? I didn't show you very many pieces, but do you think it's like a stupid waste or cool or fun or nice? Or
I like the colors they use, like the blue, or like it doesn't. I don't know. The trees in the background look kind of blue, and I think that's cool. But I guess I do like that it like brings a different, um, you know, perspective to art, and it shows like how things were back then and what they believed in, I guess.
Yeah, or how things were for some people back then. Yeah. Yeah, my students never hate it, which is interesting. So many people hate it. It's sort of like notorious for being hated, and for sort of being irresponsible. But I like being irresponsible. I think it's fun. So, not that I'd be irresponsible with you, never. Okay.
I like that. I feel like it has like a sense of humor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's cheeky. Like Rococo art is so serious. Oh, Jesus. Oh, the sacrifice Peter. Oh, it's like it's very, you take it at its word. Yeah, and Rococo is a little more like, oh, oopsie. Yeah, it's silly. It's sort of joking about itself. Yeah, and that is appealing, I think.
And then it gives us better energy. Like the other ones are kind of boring-ish, and this one is like you want to talk about it.
Yeah, it's really made to be talked about in a group, absolutely. But you thought Caravaggio and Bernini were boring? I think they're fun.
Like, compared to this one, I'm not saying they're boring.
Okay.
It's just like compared to this one, let's say it that way. It's not like I'm saying they're boring. Like compared to this one is like better.
Yeah.
Okay.
Personally,
I mean, you're
also
totally
like this
entitled to
one.
your opinion.
Yeah, I also like this one because it's more creative. It's like reading a science fiction book. It
is kind of sci-fi, actually.
Yes. It's like seeing an imaginary world. They can be very like creating imaginary landscapes, and it's not like that real or religious that is the Baroque.
Yeah.
The best way I could describe it, because like technically it's like inappropriate art, like as far as like the time with like people being poor. It's like like certain people like laugh at a funeral. Like,
oh, so you're kind of seeing it like a trauma sort of thing. Or go ahead, I'm sorry.
Kind of. It's like not necessarily trauma. It's like, say something happens at a funeral and it's like you can't help but laugh, but then you're also just like, wait, no, I have to be serious. But then it's like, well, it kind of already happened, so I kind of just have to let it happen.
Yeah, they would probably laugh at funerals or not bother to go. Like, they just don't give a shit. And I think I sort of admire that. But I think part of why it's fun is because it's so far away from us. Like, imagine if this is what people are painting, right next to, like a Black Lives Matter protest happened right by your house, and you just paint like happy white people on their iPads. It's sort of like that level of sort of inappropriate. But I think because it's not inappropriate now, really, it's sort of like the charming past. It sort of doesn't register that way as much. But really, it's like you could have painted Breonna Taylor, but no, you're gonna paint, some white guy brushing his gun collection. Like, that's wrong. It's kind of like that. But for us, it's sort of not that bad either. But I'm just trying to give you a sense of like, yeah, all right. It's funny because most people hate it and my students always like it. Maybe because I like it, or maybe I sort of wonder why it's sort of, my classes never hate it. So now you might hate what comes next, though, because what comes next hates the Rococo, but it has cool qualities too. So, oh, and where is it? I have to find it. Did I open it? Yes, I did. Okay. So what's interesting now is that we get art movements that are, no, share screen. We get art movements that like to contradict or go against other art movements. Okay, so basically so this is Boucher. He was actually Fragonard's teacher. So the Rococo becomes deeply hated for reasons we've discussed, but also we get something called the Age of Enlightenment. And so have you studied this in other classes? People study it in history sometimes.
Like when Martin Luther came around?
That's earlier. Actually, we talked about it last week. The Protestant Reformation is 1517. The Enlightenment is kind of around like late 1700s, mid 1800s. So the Enlightenment is the Age of Reason. That's how it's known. Basically, America was founded in this time, 1776, and under kind of these principles. So it's a time where personal independence is very valued, but it's also the age of reason. So even though some people are religious, there's still sort of a growing suspicion of religion, that maybe it's corrupt and how can we know anyway? And there's kind of more focus on science and experiments and philosophy. And so it's very much about meaning and getting to the heart of things. What's really going on? What are things really about? How are they made? How can we test it? So our culture is still very kind of STEM focused, science, technology, engineering, math. And I think a lot of that focus honestly comes out of the Enlightenment, that we can really discover the world through knowledge and learning and doing enough experiments to test out hypotheses and see what works. And so if you can see things and test them, why believe in God where you can't do that? So, you know, there are religious people, but there's also a growing suspicion of religion. It's not provable. And so we get kind of science and religion is seen as opposites, which is still how things are seen today. Like some of the most religious people don't believe in creation or evolution. You know, I don't think that religion and science have to be opposites, but they sort of often take on opposition in our culture. My husband is really into science and computers, and he's skeptical of any and all religions. So he's very Enlightenment oriented, I guess. But don't worry, he's nice. You're allowed to, you know, maintain your beliefs and stuff, but he's just pretty hardcore about this. I'm more sort of exploratory around religion. Anyway, the point is that we have sort of reason being seen as a replacement for religion. And there's this idea that you can figure everything out. And so part of that is that this guy Diderot, a French dude, invents the encyclopedia. So that's a very Enlightenment project, because you're taking the world that could be unknown, and instead of just trusting that God's got it covered, you're actually defining and categorizing everything, and then you put it all in a book. The dictionary is made around this time. So it's like, here's what we know, here's how we can learn. You know, you even get in science, like genus, species, things like that. So the world becomes sort of like understandable, organizable, not just like magically happens. And so there's a big search for meaning. What's important, what's actually true, what's at the heart of things. And so with those kind of focuses, they hate the Rococo. They may not be religious, but they still are moral, and they see Rococo as immoral and unimportant. So Diderot is this famous intellectual. He wrote plays, he wrote essays, he wrote the encyclopedia. He's a philosophe, meaning a philosopher of this time. So he's a major figure. And this was America was founded. You have the American Revolution. So this is a time of like freedom of speech, freedom to create your own country, to create your own rules for how to operate that country. And so it's like people will solve things through reason instead of just being a bunch of assholes or something. So Diderot is famous for his hatred of the Rococo and for being a very prominent intellectual. And so he wrote all about hating Boucher. I don't know what to say about this man. Degradation of taste, color, composition, character, expression, and drawing have kept pace with moral depravity. So he's saying the guy is a bad person, and you can see it because the art is also bad. What can we expect this artist to throw onto canvas? What he has in his imagination. And what can be in the imagination of a man who spends his life with prostitutes of the basest kind? So he's saying this guy is corrupt. All he does is have sex with hookers. And so his art reflects that. There's nothing like redeemable or like of value. So he's famous for creating a hatred of the Rococo. And he wants art to reflect the Enlightenment more and be different. There also is a sexism here. The Rococo is unusually open to women. And, when society is open to women, they tend to shut that off pretty quickly. Like, remember back in 2016, Hillary Clinton ran for president. And it seemed like, oh my God, we could have a woman president. There's like this opening after, 40, well, more than that, but after so many decades of second wave, third wave feminism, maybe, a smart, qualified feminist woman could actually run our country. But the idea of a woman running shit was so appalling to people that they voted for the most backwards fascist imaginable. Somehow that's better than a qualified woman. A mediocre man is better than a qualified woman. How familiar is that? So actually this writer, Ijeoma Oluo, who has a book, How to Talk About Race, she has a new book coming out that's about like the history of the mediocre white man in America. So, okay. So Diderot would see himself as the accomplished white man, not the mediocre one. I just lost my place. Oh yeah, but there is this idea that the Rococo is too feminine with those colors and the ladies everywhere, and women are too emotional, and so art needs to become more masculine to be more disciplined again. So they want art to have a more masculine style and to get back to basics instead of all these fancy curves and ornaments. So they want the art to return to what they consider to be masculine or an appropriate femininity, which we'll also see. And so the movement that will really come out of this is called neoclassicism. And it's really made to kind of tame art and make art good again and not bullshit like the Rococo. That's really their idea. But I do want to look at some other stuff a little bit before that. Okay. So neoclassicism tends to correspond to the Enlightenment, though there is some other art as well. Things are about science, technology, progress, reason, and studying, kind of like in the Renaissance, if you study the past, it helps you move forward. So the way that in college you might study history, but also study engineering or computer science or things like that. So, and this is something we see in modern art and the modern world, that there's a big belief in progress. Even now, you always get your latest iPhone. Technology can progress, make things easier, make things better. It's like there's always kind of like a way up. So there is a lot of faith. It's like instead of your faith being in God, your faith is in reason and progress. So for instance, a famous Enlightenment artist is Joseph Wright of Derby. That is how you pronounce that. It's pronounced Derby. There was another Joseph Wright around, so he clarified that he is from Derby in England. So this shows us a philosopher, actually an amateur, giving a lecture around an orrery. So an orrery, which is really hard to say, was a model that they had of, like planets, the sun and planets going around it. And so this is our teacher, just like me, and how are people responding to his teaching? Oh, I hear a baby.
They seem to be kind of, I'm not sure, kind of fascinated, but kind of also judgmental.
They seem to like the other guys seem to take notes, even taking notes.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're like taking notes. They're like really interested at whatever he's saying and wants to learn.
Yeah, I would say that they're pretty fascinated and into it. Yeah, so give me more sort of visual evidence that tells us, oh, the people are so involved in what they're learning. Look at people's faces, for instance.
I don't know, like the boys, the little kids are like pointing at something. They're like fascinated, like interested, and they're pointing at something. And the other guy's just thinking about it. It just like looks like he's thinking.
Yeah. So this guy, he's like lost in thought. He's so into it. He has to like try to understand how the world works.
Yes.
So with art, it's a really good idea to be as visually precise as possible, which is part of why, I mean, that's hard to do off the cuff in class, but to still kind of aim for it. So one thing I like to do is actually work backwards to really understand the visuals. Because the visuals aren't just like decoration, they're helping a point be clear. So we can read paintings the way we read books. So the way that you might, let's say you've got a book about this. A man is teaching and another man is taking notes with a pleasant expression on his face, a slight smile, while a man on the other side of the teacher is holding his face and staring with intensity at the scientific marvel. You know, so the information you would get from reading about it, we get through looking at it. So I do find it the most helpful thing is to work backwards. And so basically I would propose a thesis, which is like an argument. So a thesis could be, you know, the crowd is deeply interested in scientific discovery. You know, they're motivated, they're passionate about science and reason. And then there are a variety of ways to get evidence in art history. But I would say the first way, probably the best way, a fundamental way that is always important, no matter what you study, is that you want visual evidence. So I like to think about it like a court of law. So the prosecutor has the thesis or the argument that the dude is guilty, and they have to find ways to prove it. So like in the OJ case, Johnny Cochran was the lawyer and he is arguing that OJ is actually innocent. So he has to prove his argument, and part of that proof involves using visuals like we do. So Johnny Cochran used the glove. Are you familiar with this glove thing? This was very famous in the 90s, but you might be a little young. I mean, I was like grade school. I don't remember that well. But I've learned about OJ since then. Okay, so the famous thing is that the glove that was found at the scene, and I think it had blood on it too,
there was like the
actually
whole thing where he puts the glove on during the trial and it fits, but there is a theory that like it was planted at the scene.
Yeah, that's part of it. It's complicated. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Was the saying was, if the glove doesn't fit, you must acquit. But
exactly, yeah.
Wasn't the whole thing the glove was like blood soaked? So essentially, the glove would have shrunk because it was soaked in blood.
Yeah, that's how I understand it too. Yeah. So Cochran was arguing, well, the glove is too small. not, you know, including the soaking of blood involved, because, you know, he's being selective. He wants the evidence that's going to get his client exonerated or innocent. So he says, well, you know, OJ is this big football guy. OJ tries to put the glove on, it's too small. And so, you know, a glove doesn't necessarily mean anything. It's just an object. But Cochran uses an argument, and he makes it mean that, you know, OJ couldn't have killed the guy. His hand is too big to fit in the glove. And so then you get this rhyme: if it doesn't fit, you must acquit. Clearly, it couldn't have been him wearing the glove. So Cochran is sort of supporting a thesis, and he's using the visual of the glove and its size. Or you could say scale, which is relative size. So he's using a comparison of the size of the glove and OJ's hand. And you could argue back, yeah, but the glove would have shrunk by now because of the blood. And then you would be making a different thesis, but also using visual evidence. So that's sort of what we do. We have an argument. It's not really innocent or guilt, but it's sort of what the artwork is about or means. And then we have evidence to prove it. And so the evidence is visual. It's right there. Now, there are other pieces of evidence. You can read about the history. You can read what artists said. You can use different methods. You can like think about things in terms of feminism, in terms of psychoanalysis, like analyzing people. You know, there are all kinds of fancy ways you can do it, but everything starts and stops with the actual image, because otherwise there's no art. You know, you got to look at the art. And that's actually harder than it might seem. And so you want precise visual evidence to back up your argument or thesis or claim. So the crowd is deeply interested in discovery. And so one piece of evidence for that would be man on the left. When I say the left, I mean the viewer's left. That's us. Technically, he's to the right of the main character, but I like to do everything by the viewer because it's easier. So our left, our right. There are exceptions. There's medieval art where it matters who's on Christ's right or left. So then it's important to talk about that. But outside of something that specific, I like to just orient it around us. So the man on, let's say, the left is taking notes and smiling. So he feels he's learning a lot, and he delights in the knowledge. See, so just that, the way that he smiles and his you know, body showing note-taking is telling us what the painting is about, that it's sort of delighting in knowledge. So see, the visuals tell you everything if you really look close. What's some other visual evidence? And it's possible that this seems obvious to some, especially art majors, but it's really good to break it down this way and see these connections. Basically, talk about what some of the other people look like or what they're doing.
And the man on his, I think on his left, also on his right, is like thinking about what's going on, and then he's like, maybe he has questions, he's just like thinking through things and what's going on,
absolutely.
like just like in our class.
Yeah, it is like our class, yeah. Of like, you're getting this meaningful knowledge from the best professor ever. And I say terrible things like that all the time. And, well, you're getting used to it. And so you're really thinking through, what am I learning? What does this mean? You know, you're really figuring stuff out. It's like important knowledge. So yeah, we have the sort of intense concentration of the man on the right. His hand is on his forehead, which indicates thought. You know, when you're deeply thinking about something, you're often like this, you know. And then his stare is so intense. So we can see that this material matters to him. He's trying to learn it. Yeah, that's a good one. And then the kids look really into it, like they're having fun. I'm just gonna move stuff a little bit. So we've got kids having fun, smiling. involved. Notice it sort of looks like a brother and sister. I do think that's a girl. And so she's got her arm around the boy. So it's sort of associated with their happiness and friendship. And he's looking at it like, ooh, cool. And she's also kind of smiling. So even the kids who maybe can't fully understand it are just excited by the possibilities of science. It's like everybody can learn and benefit in some way. I would also point to this guy. He's looking up at the teacher in awe, it looks like. You know, doesn't his face look a little bit like, wow? Like he really takes the teacher seriously.
Yeah, it's like he's admiring his ideas, and
yeah,
he loves, like, he shows that he's very into the knowledge that he's teaching. And
yeah, exactly. Yep. Because if, you know, the artist wanted to show people being bored, he would paint it all differently. You know, everybody, no one would be looking at the orrery. People would be maybe crying or screaming or kind of like, you know, maybe people would be playing with a toy instead. You know, so the artist arranges it to show you that people are so interested. And so this light in the middle, we can interpret as not the light of God, as we've often seen in Baroque art, but light that comes from science, like the Enlightenment, shedding light on things, the light of reason and understanding. There's nothing religious here. There's no gods, no saints, no processions, no halos, nothing to indicate a church or anything. It's people seeing the light, coming to understanding, illuminating the darkness of their ignorance through the light of reason. Whoa! See? So it's interesting that we have that Tenebrist style that's so Baroque. Rembrandt, a Dutch Baroque artist, is also very well known for having a group portrait like this, where people are all kind of engaging and it's very sort of light and dark. So it's taking kind of like a Baroque seriousness, but about science and not about religion. And not every work of Baroque art is religious. It's just common, especially in Italy. The North is less religious, but there is variety there too. But they're taking like this seriousness and, you know, bringing it to science. Joseph Wright of Derby does loads of paintings like this. He has a really charming one of a famous experiment with a bird. And they could experiment with cutting off the bird's oxygen supply, and then the bird would faint, and then they would allow the oxygen back and the bird would be revived. So they're not necessarily trying to be sadistic, even though it doesn't sound very nice today, but it's showing their understanding of sort of, you know, oxygen and, you know, people needing it to live and being able to kind of understand that sort of thing. How to help the bird live, what would endanger it, what would then help it. So it was sort of this air pump. They could pump air in and out of the bird's area. And in this painting, we actually see a girl looking really scared because she doesn't want the birdie to die. But then her father or grandfather, some older male figure, is comforting her and saying, no, no, we're not going to let the bird die. It's just an experiment, you know. So science is morally good too, because it's discovery, it's learning, it's growth. It's the truth about the world. So it's good. It's not just right, it's good. I like this artwork. I might just show it to you. Same artist. And you'll see very similar looking, that similar Tenebrist palette. When we say palette, we mean like a range of colors. That's another thing I talk about with form. So palette is range of colors. So you could say like a bright color palette and you have lots of really bright colors, or a limited color palette and there's maybe just 2 or 3 colors being used. It sort of describes the whole thing. And then, you know, there's actual a physical palette that people have paint on. Okay, I do just want to show this for whatever reason. I just kind of like it. There's also more Rococo I could show you, but let me get rid of all this stuff. Okay. Here it comes up really fast. Bird and air pump. Okay. I'm trying to get a big enough picture. Here we go. Here. So notice we have that same tenebrous lighting. We have a gathering of people centered around science. And so this is sort of our mad scientist. You know, he's got like Einstein hair, but before Einstein, you know, and he has this really intense look on his face. And he's like, look, I understand this experiment. I can give or remove life from the bird. I can understand this. And so look, the girls are either worried or upset. Notice their expressions here. And so they're like, oh no, don't hurt the bird. And then look at sort of the father figure. He's like, no, the bird's still alive. See, it's okay, sweetie, you know? So the sweet little girls don't understand the science, but they have people to help them. And here we have a couple and they're talking about it because it's so interesting. And this really was an experiment performed at the time. And then we have we have people staring at it intensely like before. Yeah, it's like the power of science and reason. Oh my God. Okay. I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna go back to our here. So they look very similar. We can see an influence from Rembrandt. We did look at Rembrandt a little bit for the Baroque. Here is the orrery. Okay. I'm thinking of just letting you guys go 15 minutes early because these are really long classes and neoclassicism kind of needs a lot of time. So I did go a little slower than I planned on, but I don't think that's bad because we're still all kind of getting acquainted, catching up a little bit. And you certainly won't be tested on anything we haven't done, though we will do this next week. Yeah, I think I'm just going to end here for now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so long, you know. So, yeah. Anyway, so welcome back to our delightful class, and we're gonna get it all figured out. And yeah, please send me your notes. You know, as soon as you can would be lovely. You can email them. I might put a place to put them on Blackboard. Be on the lookout for Blackboard announcements. I love announcements. You know, your email should be attached to Blackboard so you get announcements. You can also download the free Blackboard app. You get announcements that way too. And you should just check it probably at least once a day for all your classes. So that will help me clarify things and get updated and stuff like that. Okay. So, but for this little sending me your notes, you can just email them to gkogut@bmcc.cuny.edu. If someone could even do that by tonight or tomorrow, that would just be lovely for me. I just appreciate it. Okay. So yeah.
When is going to be the midterm? So are we having that next week?
Yeah, I don't do exams in class. I like take-home open note exams. So what I would do is assign it on Blackboard, and we'll talk more about it next week. And then I will assign it, and it'll be, so I might make it available after the next class. And then it would be due on Blackboard a few days later.
Would it be like, do you know, if we open, we do half of it, come back and go back, or just like we have to open it and then do it in once?
No, I allow it to be like start and stop.
Okay.
I want things to just, not be too hard because like life is hard and sucks and people have jobs and adorable children. So you can go like take care of your kid and then answer a question and then go get a meal and then answer a question. I'm pretty loose with it.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So I'll see you next week and I'll post announcements and we are getting on track. Yeah.
Professor,
Okay.
for one,
Yes.
are you posting a syllabus for us?
Yeah, I'll do that soon. I'm going to basically copy over my other Art 104 that I do on Fridays. And we're maybe about a week behind that syllabus, but that's okay. I always sort of get behind because I like to go into depth. But it still gives you a good sense of a lot of things. So I have both a syllabus, which kind of explains like procedures of the class, and then I have like a schedule of what types of things we do each day. I do normally assign a lot of small assignments, but I'm not starting that yet. It's still a little early for that for me. But later you'll get kind of short things between each week, and they're helpful, they're good. So I will copy those things and the presentations and stuff over.
Okay. Professor, I'm kind of confused about the grading. So how much percentage would be the midterm or how are we gonna be graded?
I have trouble remembering all of my grading. It's on the syllabus that I'll send, but basically exams tend to be like 15%. And I actually usually give 3 tests rather than a midterm or final. So we're gonna figure out what's gonna happen with that. If I do just give 2 exams, maybe they would both be 30% or 20%. And then I like to give lots of short assignments. And so those in total are like 20%. And then you'll have 1 or 2 papers. Each of those is like 15% or so. So you'll see it on the syllabus, but it might change a little bit since we're starting at this odd time. But basically I give 2 papers, 2 or 3 exams, and littler assignments, and even 5% for participating on Zoom. And so all of that adds up.
Okay, Professor.
Yeah, we can talk more about that next time too, because then I'll get it posted. And usually the first week we talk about that kind of thing.
What chapters or periods?
But also things are very subject to change, but you'll still have more structure. So we're getting there.
Have a good
day.
day.
And
Bye.
thanks. Yeah, bye. Stay out of trouble.
What chapters should we study for the midterm?
Just do this. Look at me. Look.
Oh.
I'm answering the question around the midterm. So, okay, I gotta go.
Okay. Professor, I have
Yes.
a question before you go. So what chapters should we study for the midterm, or how would you recommend us how to study for the next week's midterm?
Okay, well, I would study the notes you've taken from our 2 classes.
Okay.
And I would study the notes you've taken just throughout the whole semester. Maybe underline what's important. For artworks that we've discussed a lot, you'll want to know the artist, the name of the period, like is it Renaissance or Baroque or things like that. You'll want to know the name of the artist. We'll talk more about that next week.
Okay.
Because exams are also open note. So we'll go over kind of how to do it and even maybe do like a little practice in class, and then you'll have it on Blackboard.
Okay. Okay, Professor.
That's why I'm doing it after next class, because then we can talk about it more and I'll have your notes, which will help. Yeah, but I would say really reading your notes is the most important for now.
Okay, and do you think, are we gonna do the same book?
I don't really use it.
Okay.
I like a website called smarthistory.org.
Okay.
And it's free and it's better than the books. So I don't use a textbook. Textbooks, I think, are kind of on their way out.
Yeah. But what topics should I look for in smarthistory.org?
Okay. Definitely Italian Renaissance, which is pretty big. It's good to look up, Leonardo, Michelangelo, Raphael. Look at Baroque, Caravaggio, Bernini. for Rococo Fragonard. And we'll talk about neoclassicism and romanticism next time. But I'm gonna make it pretty clear next time, so you don't have to worry way too much yet.
Okay. Yeah, we were kind of unclear with the previous professor because we didn't have the updated syllables and he didn't assign us assignments or any readings.
Yeah, I think it's actually nicer to have regular short assignments. That's what I usually do, but we're gonna get to that.
Okay, okay, Professor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, stay out of trouble. I just say that. It's weird. Bye.
Okay, bye, Professor. Bye-bye.